True freedom is not achieved when you quit your job, but when you discover how to build something of your own without depending on anyone else. Imagine for a moment that you wake up on a Monday morning. The alarm goes off, you jump out of bed, get dressed almost by rote, grab a quick coffee, or maybe you don't even have time to make it, and head out to work. Outside, traffic is jammed, hundreds of cars crawl along, people rush to catch the bus or subway. You, too, are part of that river of people repeating the same routine day after day, week after week. You arrive at the office, greet everyone automatically, open your laptop, and before you know it, you're immersed in another day that feels identical to yesterday's. And so the months, even the years, go by. Now stop and think, what if, alongside your daily routine, you started building a project that truly inspires you? Something that not only generates extra income but also awakens your creativity, your passion, your dormant talents. That's precisely what a side business represents. The opportunity to plant a seed of freedom while continuing to fulfill your current responsibilities. Side hustles aren't a passing fad. They're a real response to a system that increasingly demands more from people while offering less security. A few decades ago, people dreamed of landing a good, stable job, working there for life, and retiring comfortably. Today, that promise has almost vanished. Mass layoffs, automation, and economic shifts have shown that a single income is fragile, and relying solely on it can be a huge risk. Let me give you a simple example. Maria, a 32-year-old woman, works at an insurance company. She has a good salary, but every month she feels like her money evaporates in payments, bills, and debts. She always dreamed of having her own business, but she never dared because she believed that quitting her job would be a leap of faith. One day, instead of giving it all up, she decides to start selling homemade desserts to her coworkers. Little by little, her brownies and cakes become popular. What began with a small tray, after 6 months, becomes enough extra income to pay half of her apartment rent. Maria didn't become a millionaire overnight, but now she lives with less pressure and, above all, with the excitement of building something of her own. That's the power of a side business. If we look closely, most of the successful people we admire today didn't start with huge investments or by quitting everything at once. Steve Jobs was working at Atari when, along with Steve Wozniak, he was assembling the first computers in a garage. Sarah Blakely, founder of Spanx and now a multimillionaire, was selling fax machines door-to-door while developing her first revolutionary garment. None of them immediately abandoned their source of income. On the contrary, they used the stability of a job to finance and shape their idea. That's one of the biggest myths surrounding entrepreneurship. Believing that to create a business, you have to quit your current job and take a leap of faith. Many people see this romanticized image of the entrepreneur who one day throws away their tie, shouts, "I quit," and the next day lives off their passion. But the reality is very different. Most of those who try it that way end up frustrated, without income, and in debt. Not because their idea is bad, but because the transition was rushed. A side business acts as a bridge. It allows you to cross from a world of absolute dependence to a more stable and creative space, step by step, without jeopardizing your financial security. It's like learning to swim in a shallow pool before diving into the open sea. Instead of betting everything on a single move, you build calmly, testing, adjusting, and above all, learning. Let's consider another example. Juan, a software engineer, dedicates 8 hours a day to his job, but in the evenings he's passionate about web design. He starts offering his services independently on weekends. At first, he creates small websites for acquaintances, charging low rates, but with each project he improves his portfolio. After a year, his extra monthly income exceeds his base salary. And the most interesting thing, Juan didn't have to quit his job initially. Instead, he used that time to gain experience, build a reputation, and acquire clients. The day he decides to take the plunge, he's no longer jumping into the void, but rather doing so with a solid foundation. The same is true for Laura, a mother of 2 who works as a teacher. She always dreamed of teaching differently, using her own resources and online courses. Instead of leaving school, she started recording short video lessons on weekends. She shared them on social media and soon began receiving requests for private online classes. After a year, her community grew so much that she had students in different countries. Laura continues to teach, but now she has an additional income that not only provides financial security but also allows her to innovate in her passion. Side hustles represent a new path to financial freedom because they're no longer just about accumulating wealth, but about regaining control over your time and decisions. You don't have to wait until retirement to start living off what you love. You can begin now while still fulfilling your responsibilities. It's a model that adapts to modern life, long hours, bills to pay, and an uncertain world. The key is understanding that you don't need to make a drastic leap, just take a conscious and consistent step. And the most interesting thing is that this path isn't reserved only for those with great talents or revolutionary ideas. Anyone can start. Someone who knows how to cook, who enjoys writing, who has a good eye for photography, who is tech-savvy, or simply someone who identifies a need in their community and is motivated to address it. The world is full of small opportunities that can be turned into real income. When you manage to build something of your own, even if it starts modestly, a profound change occurs within you. You no longer live in fear of losing your sole source of income. You no longer see your job as a prison but as a stepping stone. You discover that true security lies not in depending on a single company, but in having the ability to generate your own resources. That feeling of independence is the seed of financial freedom. So think about this. Every day you stick to your routine without exploring your possibilities, time slips away. But every day you take a small step toward a side project, however small, you're building a different future. It's not about dreaming of quitting your job overnight, but about using it as a foundation for growth. Because true freedom doesn't appear in an instant. It's cultivated little by little with consistency, discipline, and vision. But before we continue, please write in the comments which country you're listening to this audiobook from, and if this message resonates with you, please like and share this post. This way you'll ensure you don't miss any content that nourishes your mind and brings you closer each day to the life you truly deserve. There's no time to lose. Now let's continue. Chapter 1. The Reality of Traditional Work. Every morning, millions of people repeat the same ritual. They get up, get ready, leave for work, and complete a day that in many cases no longer inspires them, but represents security. That's the paradox of traditional employment. On the one hand, it offers stability, a fixed income, the peace of mind of knowing there will be money in the account at the end of the month. On the other hand, it limits, confines, and often consumes the best years of life in tasks that don't necessarily reflect a person's true potential. Security versus freedom, that's the tension that accompanies almost all workers. Imagine someone who's been in the same office for 10 years. They know every detail of their routine. The emails they have to answer, the meetings that seem to repeat themselves endlessly, the same hallway conversations. This familiarity brings them peace of mind, but it also confines them. Their job becomes a comfort zone where nothing much changes, but at the same time, it prevents them from exploring new possibilities. It's like living in a gilded cage, protected, stable, but one that doesn't allow them to fly. That apparent security comes at a hidden cost that is rarely considered. Relying on a single source of income means that your entire financial stability rests in the hands of another person or company that can make decisions beyond your control at any moment. Suddenly being laid off, downsizing, an economic crisis, a change in management, or even the bankruptcy of your workplace are all scenarios that constantly repeat themselves. What seems secure is revealed to be fragile. A real-world example. In 2020, during the pandemic, millions of workers around the world lost their jobs in a matter of weeks. People with 20 or 30 years of seniority were laid off without warning. Highly skilled professionals suddenly found themselves without income, relying solely on savings, family, or government assistance. Many of them never imagined their stability could vanish so quickly. That's the hidden cost of having only one source of income. Now think about Rosa, an administrative secretary at a logistics company. For 15 years she held the same position, receiving small but steady raises. She believed that her loyalty was securing her future. However, the company was acquired by a larger one, and overnight her department was eliminated. Rosa, at 48, was left unemployed with little chance of finding a new job in a labor market that demands youth and mastery of new technologies. She hadn't built anything on a side hustle. She depended solely on her salary. What she thought was security turned out to be a trap. The problem with traditional work isn't just the risk of being fired. There's also the personal and emotional cost. 8 hours a day, 5 or 6 days a week, means that most of your working life is given to an employer. When you factor in commuting time, preparation, overtime, and meetings that drag on, the reality is that many people live to work instead of working to live. This routine gradually erodes motivation until exhaustion becomes the norm and the spark of dreaming fades. Studies show that a large percentage of workers feel demotivated in their jobs. Many do only the bare minimum, waiting for the weekend as a temporary respite. It's a draining cycle. Monday of frustration, Friday of relief, Saturday of rest, and Sunday of anxiety about starting all over again. This pattern, repeated for decades, leads to resignation. The person ends up accepting that that's life, without questioning whether there could truly be something different. To understand this better, consider Miguel's story. From a young age, he dreamed of traveling, of seeing the world, but at 22 he got a job at a bank. The salary was good to start with, and he had benefits, insurance, and stability. Years passed, and he climbed the ladder, but so did his responsibilities. By 35 he was earning double his initial salary, but he was working 12 hours a day, taking his computer home, and answering emails even on weekends. His life was reduced to the office and the routine. The trips he dreamed of were put on indefinite hold. When he spoke about them, he would say, "Someday when I retire, I'll do it." Miguel represents millions of people trapped in a future that never arrives because their jobs consume their entire present. The emotional toll is also reflected in a lack of creativity. When work becomes a mechanical repetition, curiosity and innovation atrophy. The brain gets used to always solving the same problems, with the same procedures, until the ability to think differently is lost. That is another form of limitation. The mind becomes a slave to routine. However, it's not all bad. It would be unfair to deny that employment also has advantages. For many people, it's a lifeline, an opportunity to learn, to build experience, to network. The problem isn't employment itself, but the idea that it's enough. Absolute dependence turns that initial advantage into a risk. It's like walking a tightrope, trusting that it will never break. A less visible aspect is how traditional employment shapes the way people think about money. Receiving a fixed salary fosters a consumerist mindset, spending based on income, waiting for the next paycheck, and organizing life around pay periods. This creates a cycle where people work only to cover expenses, with no room to invest, create, or grow. This dynamic keeps people busy but not free. Let's look at another case. Carmen, a single mother, works in a department store. She earns just enough to cover rent and food for her children. Every month she eagerly awaits her paycheck, because she knows it barely covers her debts. Her effort is admirable, but her dependence on her salary keeps her in constant anxiety. Any unexpected expense, like car repairs or medicine, throws her into crisis. Her job gives her security, but it also keeps her on a constant tightrope. The system is designed to make people settle for this relative security. Loans are offered to buy houses, cars, or appliances, generating debt that further ties them to their jobs. Each loan is an invisible chain that ensures they cannot break free. In this way, what seemed like progress becomes a financial prison. When analyzing these stories and patterns, an inevitable question arises. Is it worth dedicating your entire life to a single income that, besides being limited, can disappear at any moment? The answer isn't to quit your job immediately, but to recognize its limitations and realize that it's necessary to build something beyond it. The reality of traditional work is that it serves as a foundation, but it doesn't guarantee a future. Those who grasp this begin to see their jobs differently. No longer as the final destination, but as a platform from which they can begin to create. Salary becomes seed capital, free time fertile ground, and routine ceases to be a barrier, transforming into a springboard. The first step is accepting that relying on a single income is not security but vulnerability, and that the only way to reverse this is by taking action simultaneously, without waiting until it's too late. Chapter 2. The Power of the Side Business. A side business isn't simply extra income, nor is it a hobby disguised as work. It's the conscious development of an activity that runs parallel to your main job, not immediately replacing it, but gradually becoming a genuine source of independence. Unlike temporary or part-time jobs, a side business is designed to grow, to be sustainable, and to have an impact that extends far beyond a few hours of effort. What makes it powerful is that it's not a momentary escape, but a seed that, with perseverance, can blossom into a strong, thriving business. Many people confuse a side business with simply having extra income. For example, driving a taxi for a few hours after work, selling some used items online, or taking extra shifts on weekends. That might help financially, but it doesn't build something of your own. A real side business involves developing a system that, even if it starts small, can evolve into something stable and scalable. It's about leveraging your talents, identifying a market need, and offering a solution that people value. That's the difference between just working more hours and truly running a side business. The advantages of a side business versus full-time entrepreneurship are clear and powerful. First, it allows you to reduce risk. When you start a business by quitting your job, the pressure is immense. You have to generate income immediately to cover expenses, pay debts, and survive. This stress can stifle creativity. In contrast, with a side business, your job becomes a safety net that covers your basic needs while you explore, experiment, and learn. The pressure decreases and the margin for error increases. Another advantage is the opportunity to learn through hands-on experience without risking everything. University and courses focus heavily on theory, but a side business confronts you with reality. Clients who don't pay on time, suppliers who let you down, advertising campaigns that don't perform as expected. Every mistake is a lesson, but since you don't depend on that income to survive, you can absorb the experience and improve. When the time comes to take a bigger step, you'll already have the experience that can only be gained in the field. Furthermore, a side business gives you the opportunity to discover if you truly enjoy what you think you love. Many people dream of turning their passion into a business, but when they do it full-time, they discover that the financial pressure stifles that passion. Doing it on the side allows you to validate whether you really want to dedicate yourself to it, without jeopardizing your livelihood. For example, someone who loves baking can start by selling desserts to friends and family. If after a few months they continue to enjoy the process and also generate good sales, they'll know they can expand. But if they discover that it exhausts them or that they don't like dealing with customers, they will have learned without ruining their financial stability. Starting small and scaling safely is the essence of a side business. Imagine you want to open a coffee shop. Instead of going into debt to rent a space, hire staff, and buy expensive equipment, you could start by offering specialty coffee at small events or selling your blends online. By doing so, you reduce initial risks and test whether there's real interest in your idea. With each step, you measure results, adjust, and improve. The same applies to any idea. Start with a minimum viable product and grow as you validate it. There are inspiring examples all over the world of people who started this way. Chris Gilbo, author of the book Side Hustle, has documented hundreds of stories of people who transformed simple activities into profitable businesses. One of them is that of a teacher who started selling PDF study guides online. At first, there were only a few downloads, but over time, those guides became a digital business that generated more than his salary as a teacher. He didn't quit his job at the beginning. On the contrary, he used his teaching experience to create a product that others valued. Another example is a nurse who enjoyed making scented candles in her free time. She started by giving them to coworkers, then opened a small online shop, and in less than 2 years she was receiving international orders. What began as a hobby became a solid business, all while she continued working her shift at the hospital. Airbnb's story can also be understood as a side business that scaled up. Its founders didn't have enough resources to pay the rent for their San Francisco apartment, so they decided to rent out inflatable mattresses to people attending a conference in the city. That small, temporary idea eventually became one of the most disruptive companies in the tourism sector. If they had waited until they had the capital and free time to launch a larger venture, they probably would never have started. What's fascinating about side hustles is that they democratize entrepreneurship. You no longer need a lot of capital, influential contacts, or a revolutionary idea. All you need to do is carefully observe what your community needs and ask yourself how you can offer something valuable. Many of the best opportunities arise from everyday life. The person who offers online tutoring, the one who designs original t-shirts, the one who creates a YouTube channel about a topic they're an expert on, or the one who organizes local tours for tourists, they all start the same way, with something small that solves a real problem. A particularly interesting example is that of a young programmer in India who decided to create small mobile applications during his free time. These weren't massive projects, but rather simple apps that solved specific tasks, such as currency conversion, calorie counting, or to-do list management. At first, he barely earned a few dollars, but over time, several of his apps went viral and reached thousands of downloads. Within a few years, his passive income surpassed what he earned at his full-time job. Most importantly, it all started as a side project without sacrificing his initial stability. Another inspiring story is that of a mother in Mexico who had a knack for organizing children's parties. At first, she helped friends and neighbors decorate with balloons, prepare games, and coordinate activities. After a while, she started charging a nominal fee. Word of mouth grew her reputation, and soon she was organizing events every weekend. Today, she has a small team and offers complete packages. Her business grew from a simple activity, done alongside her responsibilities as a homemaker. All these examples have something in common. They didn't wait for the perfect time or give up everything. They started with what they had, leveraged their talents, and took small but steady steps. That's the essence of the power of a side business. The secret isn't thinking big from the start, but thinking strategically. It's about creating something that works at your current scale and then letting it grow with you. Your side business isn't an extra burden, but a path to greater freedom. And while it may initially demand additional time and effort, Over time it becomes a source of satisfaction and security that no traditional job can offer. The most powerful aspect of this type of business is that it changes your mindset. You stop seeing yourself as someone who depends solely on a boss or a company, and you begin to see yourself as a creator, as someone capable of generating opportunities. This inner transformation is as valuable as any money you might earn. Because when you realize you can build something of your own, a confidence awakens that accompanies you in every aspect of your life. In an increasingly uncertain world, where the rules change rapidly, having a side business isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. It's not about chasing an impossible dream, but about preparing for the future with a firm footing. Whether your side business becomes your primary source of income or simply supplements it, what matters is that it empowers you, gives you options, and grants you control. And that, ultimately, is true freedom. Chapter 3. Discover your profitable idea. Finding a profitable side business idea doesn't begin with a flurry of random thoughts, but with a sincere analysis of who you are and what you can offer. Everyone possesses talents, passions, and skills that often go unnoticed because they're so ingrained in our routines that they seem ordinary. However, what's commonplace for you might be a valuable solution for others. The first step, then, is to take a moment to observe yourself carefully. Ask yourself, what activities do I enjoy so much that time flies when I'm doing them? What have others told me I do well? What skills have I developed at work, in my studies, or in my hobbies that could be useful to others? Imagine someone who always helps their friends organize their personal budgets. For that person, it's second nature. They enjoy creating spreadsheets, reviewing accounts, and planning expenses. But what's normal for them is a headache for many others. Therein lies an opportunity, offering basic personal finance consulting to students, young couples, or workers who never learned to manage their money. The same applies to someone who enjoys repairing appliances, cooking, editing videos, or giving fashion advice. Every talent has business potential if it's properly framed. The second step is to observe your surroundings with an entrepreneurial eye. Every day we are surrounded by problems, shortcomings, or needs that people would be willing to pay to solve. We just don't see them because we take them for granted. Profitable businesses emerge when you decide to look at these inconveniences from a different perspective. If there isn't a reliable laundromat in your neighborhood, there's an opportunity. If you notice that many parents are looking for extracurricular activities for their children, you could offer music, art, or sports classes. If you see that your coworkers are always ordering unhealthy fast food, perhaps you could sell homemade lunches. There are two main categories of ideas: classic and modern. Classic ideas are those that have always existed, addressing basic needs such as food, cleaning, education, or transportation. These businesses thrive because they solve universal problems. However, being traditional, they tend to face more competition and require differentiation. On the other hand, there are modern ideas, many of which leverage technology. These take advantage of the internet, social media, mobile apps, and digital platforms to create new ways of delivering value. They are not mutually exclusive. In fact, combining both is very powerful. For example, selling homemade food is a classic idea, but doing so through Instagram orders or delivery apps is a modern adaptation. Next, we will explore 25 examples of profitable side businesses that you can start today, divided between the most traditional and the most current. The first is homemade baking. Baking cookies, cakes, brownies, or artisan bread is in constant demand. You don't need a shop. Simply start in your kitchen and offer them to neighbors, friends, or co-workers. The important thing is quality, presentation, and word of mouth. The second is healthy office food. Many employees want to eat better but don't have time to prepare their lunches. If you cook with care and present your dishes attractively, you'll soon have repeat customers who appreciate your offering. The third is organizing small events. From children's birthdays to home parties, there's always a demand for someone to handle the decorations, logistics, and entertainment. Starting with parties for friends and acquaintances can quickly open doors. The fourth is language teaching. If you're fluent in another language, even at an intermediate level, you can give private lessons either in person or online. There are thousands of people looking to improve their language skills to get better jobs or travel. The fifth is repair services. Fixing cell phones, computers, or household appliances is a highly valuable skill. Even though large repair shops exist, people trust someone local, fast, and accessible. The sixth is photography. Many families look for photographers for events, portraits, or even social media content. With a basic camera and a good eye for art, you can get started and grow with practice. The seventh is sewing and clothing alterations. There will always be someone who needs pants altered, a shirt repaired, or something custom made. It doesn't require a large investment, just manual skills and dedication. The 8th is gardening and plant maintenance. In cities, many people don't have time to tend to their gardens or potted plants, but they do want green spaces. You can offer basic maintenance services and grow by offering referrals. The 9th is pet care. Walking dogs, looking after them when their owners travel, or providing grooming services are activities that build trust and loyalty. Animal lovers know that this business combines passion and profitability. The 10th option is carpooling. If you have a car, you can arrange ride-sharing to your workplace or a nearby city. With apps or personal arrangements, you reduce fuel costs and generate extra income. Let's move on to more modern examples. The 11th is creating content for social media. If you have expertise in a specific topic, you can start a YouTube channel, a podcast, or an Instagram account. With consistency, you can monetize through advertising or collaborations. The 12th is digital marketing for small businesses. Many local shops need an online presence, but they don't know how. Offering services like social media management, ad creation, or website design is in high demand. The 13th is selling products through e-commerce. You can import small items, create your own line, or resell through platforms like Amazon, Mercado Libre, or Etsy. The key is to specialize in a niche. The 14th skill is graphic design. If you have basic software skills, you can design logos, flyers, or social media posts. You don't need to be an expert. With practice, you can offer affordable services to local entrepreneurs. The 15th is content writing. Many websites, blogs, and businesses are looking for writers to create articles, product descriptions, or newsletters. If you enjoy writing, you can do it from home and get paid per project. The 16th is online consulting. If you have experience in a professional area, from human resources to nutrition, you can advise people via video calls. What you know can be valuable to others. The 17th is the development of simple applications. With a basic knowledge of programming, you can create useful tools and sell them in digital stores. A huge team isn't required, just solving specific problems. The 18th is video editing. With the growth of TikTok and YouTube, more and more people need editors to give their content a professional finish. It's a service in high demand. The 19th is print on demand. Platforms allow you to design t-shirts, mugs, or notebooks and sell them without needing to hold any inventory. You create the design, and the company takes care of printing and shipping. The 20th is creating online courses. If you're an expert on a subject, you can record lessons and sell them on educational platforms. While it requires initial effort, it can generate recurring income later on. The 21st is podcasting. Sharing experiences, interviews, or analysis in audio format has become very popular. With sponsors or memberships, you can monetize your audience. 22nd is personal coaching. From physical training to productivity guidance, many people pay for personalized support. The key is to provide real value and demonstrate results. 23rd is community manager services. Hundreds of businesses need someone to respond to messages, publish content, and maintain their social media presence. If you're organized and creative, it's a viable career path. 24th is selling photos on stock image websites. If you enjoy capturing moments, you can upload your photos to platforms that sell them to designers and companies worldwide. And the 25th is creating niche newsletters. If you're interested in a specific topic, you can write weekly newsletters and build a community. Over time, you can monetize them with subscriptions or advertising. These 25 examples are just a small sample of the universe of possibilities that exist. The important thing is to understand that it's not about copying the exact idea, but about being inspired and adapting it to your talents, your environment, and the reality you live in. A truly profitable business is one that arises from the intersection of what you love to do, what you know how to do, and what people are willing to pay for. When exploring these options, remember that none are perfect from the start. They all require trial and error, adjustments, feedback, and patience. The power of it is that you can start with small steps without risking too much, and over time watch that idea grow and become a real source of income and satisfaction. Discovering your profitable idea is a process of self-discovery and observing the world. It's not about inventing something impossible, but about paying attention to what's already in front of you and transforming it into an opportunity. Those who learn to see with these eyes discover that businesses are everywhere, waiting to be created. Chapter 4. Getting to know your ideal customer. The secret to any profitable side business lies not only in having a good idea, but in understanding who that idea is for. Many people start projects with enthusiasm, but fail because they never stop to clearly consider who their ideal customer is. And herein lies one of the most powerful truths in the business world. Not everyone is your customer, and you don't need everyone to be. What you really need is to deeply understand that specific group of people who find genuine value in what you offer and are willing to pay for it. Imagine you have a talent for making artisanal desserts. You can make the best brownies in town, but if you try to sell them to everyone at once, your message gets diluted and your efforts are scattered. On the other hand, if you focus your energy on a specific segment, such as young professionals looking for a sweet treat to give on special occasions, your communication will be clearer, your product will better meet their expectations, and your business will grow steadily. Understanding who you serve is the key that unlocks all other doors. So, how do you acquire this knowledge? The first practical technique is direct observation. Before spending money on advertising or mass production, observe how people around you behave. What do your coworkers buy during their lunch break? What services do your neighbors seek? What complaints do your friends frequently make about existing products or services? This constant observation is a goldmine of information because it connects you to real needs, not assumptions. The second technique is conversation. Talking to people is an underrated but incredibly powerful resource. Ask your friends, family, colleagues, or even strangers on social media what problems they face in an area related to your idea. If you're thinking of offering a personal organization consulting service, you could ask, "What's your biggest challenge in managing your time each week?" People's direct answers are like having a compass pointing you in the right direction. The third technique is to leverage digital research tools. These days, social media, forums, Facebook groups, and Amazon reviews are spaces where people openly express their needs, likes, and dislikes. If you dream of selling personal care products, head to the online reviews section for shampoos or creams. There you'll discover what customers love, what they hate, and what they hope to find in the future. This information is free and extremely valuable for defining your ideal customer. The fourth technique is trend analysis. Platforms like Google Trends show you which topics or products are gaining popularity in different regions of the world. You can also observe what types of videos go viral on TikTok or what hashtags related to your industry are being used on Instagram. This doesn't mean you should blindly copy what's trending, but it does give you an idea of what people are searching for. Once you've gathered all this information, it's time to take a crucial step: creating your ideal customer profile. This profile isn't a generic list, but a detailed representation of the person who will benefit most from what you offer. You should almost imagine them as a character with a name, age, occupation, interests, fears, and aspirations. The clearer this portrait, the easier it will be to design your product, your message, and your communication strategy. For example, let's say you want to start a personal finance consulting business. Instead of saying, "My clients are all the people who want to save money," you can be much more specific. "My ideal client is Laura, a 32-year-old professional woman, single, who earns a fixed salary but feels like she never has enough money. She loves to travel and dreams of buying her first apartment, but she doesn't know how to organize herself to achieve it." With that level of detail, you can design your services to speak directly to Laura and thousands of other people who identify with her. Another example: if your idea is to sell sportswear online, your ideal customer might be Pedro, a 25-year-old who works from home and is looking for comfortable workout clothes without spending too much. He's tech-savvy, shops online with confidence, and follows fitness influencers. With that profile, you'll know your strategy should include dynamic photos, affordable prices, and social media advertising focused on wellness and a healthy lifestyle. Your ideal customer profile isn't static. It evolves over time. As your business grows and you receive feedback, you discover new nuances. Perhaps you initially thought your target audience was university students, but in practice, it turns out that young parents are the ones who value your service the most. This information allows you to adjust your messaging and strategic decisions. A common mistake is trying to do too much. Many entrepreneurs say, "My product is for everyone." But when you aim for everyone, you don't actually connect with anyone. It's much more powerful to target a small group with a clear message, because those people will feel understood and be more willing to trust you. Furthermore, that niche can naturally expand to other segments in the future. To make this clearer, let's consider a side business like photography. If you try to be a photographer for everything, weddings, babies, products, landscapes, portraits, you'll be scattered and competing with thousands of professionals. But if you decide to focus on pet photography, your message becomes unique. "I immortalize the most tender moments of your best four-legged friend." That level of specialization attracts a group of passionate clients who will not only hire you but also recommend you. Creating an ideal customer profile also helps define prices. When you know who you're serving, you understand how much they're willing to pay. Selling a luxury product to high-level executives is not the same as offering an affordable service to university students. Both can be profitable, but they require different approaches. Another benefit of knowing your ideal customer is that it simplifies your communication. If you know your audience is new mothers looking for safe baby products, your language should be warm, protective, and trustworthy. On the other hand, if you're targeting young tech entrepreneurs, the tone can be more direct, innovative, and energetic. Ultimately, understanding who you serve generates something deeper than sales. It creates connection. When people feel that someone understands their needs and speaks their language, they don't just buy a product or service. They become part of a community. That loyalty is the foundation for building a solid side business that can scale over time. Understanding your ideal client isn't a boring academic exercise. It's the heart of your strategy. It's the difference between struggling to sell and selling effortlessly, between knocking on doors randomly and having them open on their own because your offering fits perfectly into people's lives. It's about looking beyond what you offer and constantly asking yourself, who am I doing this for and how am I changing their lives? At that moment, the side business ceases to be a simple source of extra income and becomes a real bridge to financial freedom, because it is not based on assumptions, but on authentic relationships with clients who feel that someone is finally listening to them and responding to their needs. Chapter 5. Design your simple action plan. Having a good side business idea is just the beginning. To keep that idea from getting lost in the air, you need a plan. Not a huge document full of technical jargon you'll never use, but a simple, actionable plan. Something that allows you to take the first steps with clarity. Think of this plan as a pocket map. It doesn't have every detail of every turn in the road, but it does have the main direction so you don't get lost. This map is made up of 3 fundamental pillars: what you offer, who you offer it to, and how you're going to deliver it. The first pillar, what you offer, seems obvious, but it requires precision. It's not enough to say, I sell food, I give classes, or I do crafts. You need to define exactly what value you deliver. For example, instead of saying, I sell food, you could specify, I offer weekly menus of healthy, homemade lunches for office workers who don't have time to cook. That clarity changes everything because it's no longer just about selling food, but about solving a specific problem. The second pillar is who. This is where everything you learned about your ideal customer comes in. You can't write, my product is for everyone, because that will lead to a weak message. You need to focus on the specific group that finds the most value in what you offer. Going back to the previous example, it's not the same to think about people who eat as it is to think about professionals between 25 and 40 years old who work in offices and want to take care of their health without spending too much. The level of detail matters because it will determine how you communicate, how you design your product, and where you promote it. The third pillar is the how. Here you define the practical mechanism for delivering your proposal. It can be in person, digital, home delivery, subscription-based, or through existing platforms. Following the same example, your how could be, I deliver lunches in eco-friendly containers to the office door at fixed times, and orders are placed via WhatsApp one day in advance. With that clear definition, you already have a simple yet powerful model. Once you've identified these 3 pillars, it's time to draft your one-page mini business plan. Yes, 1 page is enough to get started. The reason is simple. What matters at the beginning isn't perfection, but action. Many entrepreneurs get lost in 50-page plans they never implement. In contrast, a short, clear plan is a compass that guides you and that you can easily adjust. Imagine you take a blank sheet of paper and draw 3 large boxes. In the first, write what I offer. In the second, to whom, and in the third, how I deliver it. That's your initial framework. Now, within each box, answer with short, specific, and direct phrases. Don't try to sound elegant or technical, just be clear. Let's look at a practical example. Suppose you have a knack for teaching English and decide to turn it into a side business. In the first box, what I offer, you write, personalized conversational English classes for adults who want to travel and communicate with confidence. In the second, to whom, you note, professionals between 30 and 50 years old who plan to travel abroad and are looking for practical classes, without complicated grammar. In the third, how I deliver it, you define, online sessions via Zoom, 1 hour per week, materials included, and personalized follow-up via WhatsApp. With these phrases, you already have a mini plan to guide your immediate actions. The power of this exercise lies in its simplicity. When you see it all on a single page, you understand that your business isn't an insurmountable mountain, but a series of clear steps. Furthermore, this plan becomes a flexible tool. You can review it periodically, correct it, add details, or remove what isn't working. The key is that it never remains theoretical but always leads you to action. Now, to make this process even more tangible, it's helpful to do some guided exercises that help you put your ideas down on paper. The first involves taking a sheet of paper and writing 3 lists: your talents, your passions, and the problems you've observed in your environment. Do this without judgment. Simply jot down everything that comes to mind. Perhaps under talents you'll write cooking, organizing events, managing social media. Under passions, reading, traveling, teaching. Under problems, people don't have time to prepare healthy food, my friends can't find anyone to look after their dogs, my office colleagues are always complaining about their lack of English. Once you have those 3 lists, look for connections. If you enjoy teaching, are fluent in English, and see that people need to improve their English, there's an interesting intersection. If you enjoy cooking, are passionate about nutrition, and notice that many people around you eat poorly due to lack of time, there's another opportunity. This simple exercise can illuminate ideas that previously seemed scattered. The second guided exercise is to imagine your first real client. Write about them as if they were a character in a story. Give them a name, an age, an occupation, a dream, and a problem. Be detailed. Maria, 35, works as an administrative assistant. She wants to improve her diet, but she comes home tired and ends up ordering fast food. She dreams of feeling healthier and having the energy to play with her children. This human portrait transforms your business from an abstract concept into a concrete solution for a specific person. The third exercise is the minimum viable action. Think about your idea and write down the smallest, simplest way to test it in the real world. If your plan is to sell desserts, the minimum viable action isn't to open a shop, but to bake a batch of brownies and offer them to 5 coworkers. If your plan is to teach classes, the minimum action is to give a free session to a friend to test your method. The goal is to break through the paralysis and get moving. Another practical exercise involves setting micro goals for the first week. Don't think about total success, but rather small steps. For example, this week I will talk to 3 people about my idea, or this week I will design a simple logo using a free app. By writing these steps in your mini plan, you transform your side business into a series of achievable actions. It's important to emphasize that this one-page plan doesn't replace more complex documents you might need in the future, such as financial projections or detailed marketing strategies. But in the beginning, what matters most is getting started, validating your idea, and learning. Most successful businesses began with a plan as simple as this, which then evolved with experience. Don't be afraid that your plan might seem too basic. Remember that perfection is the enemy of progress. If you wait until everything is flawless, you'll never even begin. The goal of this chapter is for you to understand that a side business isn't built on theories, but on practical steps, written down and executed. And simply putting your ideas on paper is a powerful act that sets you apart from those who only dream but never act. At the end of the day, what determines the success of a side business isn't the most brilliant idea or the most sophisticated plan, but the ability to execute it clearly. This simple action plan is like the spark that ignites the engine. And once the engine starts, every mile traveled gives you more experience, more confidence, and more clarity to adjust your course. So take that piece of paper, write down what you're offering, who you're offering it to, and how you're going to deliver it. Keep it simple, direct, and practical. Then take the first step, however small it may seem. Because what you write on a page today could become the foundation of a side business that changes your entire life. Chapter 6. Smart Finances to Get Started. Money is often one of the biggest excuses for not starting a side business. Many people think they need large investments, bank loans, or huge savings before taking the first step. This belief stifles dreams and stops projects that could thrive with very little. The truth is, it has never been easier to start a business with limited resources. What you need isn't a large sum of money, but rather creativity, discipline, and the vision to manage every penny wisely. Starting with little money requires low-cost strategies. One of the most powerful is leveraging what you already have. If you have a computer, a cell phone with a good camera, or an internet connection, you already possess tools that in another era would have cost a fortune. Think about the value you can generate from what's available. If your talent is teaching, you can record simple videos from your living room and upload them to free platforms. If you enjoy cooking, your own kitchen can be your initial laboratory. The most common mistake is waiting to acquire the most expensive equipment, when in reality, the essential thing is to validate your idea with the resources you have. Another low-cost strategy is to start with a minimum viable product, MVP. Instead of producing 100 units of a product, Produce 5 and observe your customers' reactions. If you receive positive feedback, adjust and produce a few more. This method not only reduces the risk of losing money but also allows you to learn firsthand what the market truly wants. Many well-known brands started this way, with small batches, constant adjustments, and gradual reinvestment. An additional tip is to use free or low-cost platforms to promote yourself. Social media has become a global showcase accessible to everyone. Opening an Instagram page, a YouTube channel, or a TikTok profile costs nothing, and with creativity, you can attract your first clients without investing large sums in advertising. Furthermore, there are free apps for designing logos, creating eye-catching posts, or keeping track of your finances. The secret is to use what already exists and make the most of it. Now, when you start generating your first income, a crucial aspect arises: separating your personal finances from your business finances. This point is critical and many overlook it. By mixing personal and business money, you lose clarity, you don't know if your project is truly profitable, and you run the risk of spending profits on things that don't contribute to growth. Financial discipline begins with something as simple as opening a separate bank account or, if that's not possible initially, using a separate wallet exclusively for the business. The rule is clear. Every bit of income you receive from your side business must be recorded and managed separately. This doesn't mean you can't benefit from those earnings, but it does mean you need to know exactly how much comes in, how much goes out, and how it's spent. Even if you're working with small amounts, this clarity is the foundation of an entrepreneurial mindset. Think of your side business as its own entity that deserves order and respect. Another smart practice is to assign yourself a symbolic salary from the start. For example, if you earn $500 in a month with your project, you can decide that $100 is for you and $400 is reinvested in the business. This way, you get immediate motivation from receiving a reward, but at the same time, you ensure your venture has the resources to grow. This habit prevents you from falling into the temptation of spending all your earnings on personal consumption and encourages you to think long-term. Reinvestment is the fuel of growth. Every side business needs to feed off its own profits to expand safely. If you start by selling desserts, you might initially use basic molds and simple packaging. With your first profits, you could invest in better utensils, more attractive packaging, or even advertising. If you start by giving online classes, your first earnings could go toward a better camera, microphone, or teaching platform. The key is to gradually improve the quality and reach of what you offer. A common mistake is spending profits too quickly on things that don't generate a return. Buying clothes, gadgets, or personal indulgences with business money might feel good in the moment, but it weakens the potential for growth. In contrast, strategically reinvesting multiplies your results. Every dollar you put back into your project acts as a seed that can later yield much greater returns. It's also advisable to keep a simple but consistent record of your finances. You don't need expensive software or to be an accounting expert. A spreadsheet or a notebook where you jot down every income and expense is all you need. This practice gives you a real understanding of how your money moves and allows you to make more informed decisions. At the end of each month, review these numbers and ask yourself, am I overspending on anything unnecessary? Are there expenses I can cut back on? What percentage am I reinvesting? This habit will make you feel in control of your project, not a slave to improvisation. An important aspect of smart finance is avoiding excessive debt at the beginning. While loans may seem like a quick fix, starting with large debts adds unnecessary pressure and risk. Remember, the goal of a side business is to give you freedom, not chains. The wisest approach is to start small, using your own resources, validate your idea, and then reinvest the profits. If your project proves viable in the future and you need capital to grow, then you can consider a loan, but from a more secure position. There are also creative strategies for financing your business without resorting to traditional loans. One is bartering, exchanging services with other entrepreneurs. If you have design skills, you could offer a logo in exchange for legal or marketing advice. Another is pre-selling, offering your product before production, thus ensuring you already have customers willing to pay. This is common with books, courses, or personalized products. You can also look for small, close investors such as friends or family, but always with clear written agreements to avoid misunderstandings. The right mindset regarding money is to see it as a tool, not an obstacle. If you think you need a lot to get started, you'll never take the first step. On the other hand, if you learn to use what little you have strategically, you'll discover that money multiplies when managed wisely. By separating your finances, reinvesting with discipline, and keeping clear records, you'll be building a side business that not only generates income but also stands on solid foundations. Many projects fail not because the idea is bad, but because money management is disorganized. In contrast, those who respect their finances, even with small amounts, develop an entrepreneurial mindset that allows them to grow steadily. So remember, you don't need thousands of dollars to get started. You need creativity to use what you have, discipline to set aside your money, and vision to reinvest wisely. Every step you take in this direction will be another brick in building a solid side business, capable of giving you the financial freedom you seek without jeopardizing your current stability. Chapter 7. Your business in motion. Once your side business has taken shape, the next big challenge is launching it, giving it visibility, and generating your first sales. You can have the best idea in the world, a well-designed product, or a valuable service, but if no one knows about it, it's as if it doesn't exist. That's why marketing isn't a luxury or a secondary expense. It's the engine that propels your project outward and connects it with the people who need it most. The good news is that, unlike a few decades ago, you don't need huge budgets to start promoting yourself. All you need is to learn how to tell your story, use the available digital tools, and have the courage to share what you offer. Digital marketing strategies for beginners start with something very simple: choosing the right platform. Not all social media networks are created equal. If you sell visual products like crafts, clothing, or baked goods, Instagram and TikTok can be your best allies because they focus on images and short videos. If your business is geared toward professional services, LinkedIn or Facebook allow you to reach a more serious and segmented audience. The key isn't to be everywhere, but to be where your ideal client actually is. Choosing one or two platforms and mastering them is more effective than spreading yourself across 5 social media networks without a strategy. Once you've chosen a platform, the key is to share content that resonates with people. Many people make the mistake of using social media solely for direct sales, posting messages that sound like impersonal advertisements. What truly generates interest is providing value. For example, if you sell healthy food, instead of just posting photos of your dishes, you can share nutrition tips, easy recipes, or advice on maintaining energy levels during work. If you offer English lessons, you could upload short videos teaching useful phrases or answering common questions. This attracts people interested in your expertise, and they gradually become loyal followers. Digital marketing also involves sharing your personal story. People don't just buy products, they buy trust and connection. By sharing how you started, your values, and what inspires you, you'll transform your project from anonymity into a human experience. Imagine someone who starts selling handmade candles from home and explains that they do it to create peaceful environments in stressed homes. That narrative resonates far more than a simple, "I sell candles" ad. Authenticity is a powerful and free marketing tool. Now, promoting your business without spending money is entirely possible. One very effective strategy is networking, which means building genuine relationships with people who can recommend you. This isn't about handing out business cards to everyone, but rather about participating in communities, online groups, forums, or events related to your field. There, you can share your knowledge, help others, and naturally talk about your business. Often, a word-of-mouth recommendation carries more weight than any paid campaign. Word of mouth remains, even in the digital age, the most powerful form of advertising. When someone trusts you and recommends you, it conveys a validation that no advertisement can buy. To activate this mechanism, the key is to provide exceptional service from the start. If your first customer is satisfied, they will likely tell a friend or colleague about you. That chain of recommendations can grow exponentially. Therefore, every interaction with a customer should be seen as an opportunity to cultivate future sales. Another way to promote yourself without spending money is to collaborate with other entrepreneurs. If you sell desserts, you could partner with an event organizer and offer your products as part of their packages. If you teach yoga, you could team up with a nutritionist and offer combined workshops. These collaborations allow you to share audiences and multiply your visibility without spending any money. Joining forces always generates more reach than working alone. In the digital world, you can also leverage Facebook groups or WhatsApp communities to showcase your offering. The key, however, is to do so respectfully and by providing value. Don't join a group solely to sell, because people will notice and reject it. Participate actively, answer questions, share helpful tips, and you'll gradually build a reputation that will open doors to discussing your business without seeming intrusive. When it comes time to make your first sales, it's natural to feel nervous. Many people fear rejection and think, "What if no one buys?" But the reality is that every sale begins with someone curious who needs a nudge to become a customer. This is where the importance of presenting your offer clearly and attractively comes into play. It's not enough to simply say, "I sell this product." it's better to show how it solves a problem or improves the buyer's life. For example, instead of saying, "I sell planners," you could say, "I help busy people organize their time with practical, personalized planners that reduce stress." Converting curious onlookers into customers also involves giving them a small taste of what you offer. This could be a free trial, an introductory discount, or valuable content. If you sell online courses, you could offer a free introductory class. If you sell baked goods, you could hold small tastings in your office or with your neighbors. These gestures not only build trust but also remove the barrier of fear for the customer. Another crucial point is to respond quickly and politely. When someone writes to you asking about your product or service, every minute counts. A delayed response can cause them to lose interest or look for another option. Responding enthusiastically, clarifying doubts, and conveying confidence are all part of the sales process. Speed and personalized attention are powerful tools that don't cost money but make all the difference. Follow-up also plays a vital role. Often, a potential customer doesn't buy on the first contact, but that doesn't mean they aren't interested. If you maintain contact with friendly messages, updates on new products, or helpful content, you'll stay top of mind when they finally decide to buy. Respectful persistence turns many curious customers into loyal ones. To give a concrete example, imagine Laura, a young woman who starts selling handmade jewelry from home. She opens an Instagram account and uploads photos of her pieces, but she doesn't just show the product. She posts short videos explaining how she combines colors, shares fashion tips, and tells the story of how she started creating jewelry to relax after work. Her friends begin buying from her and recommending her. Then a client requests custom pieces, and Laura agrees, showing the creative process on her social media. This transparency generates more interest. Little by little, her followers grow, and although she never invested in advertising, she managed to turn her passion into a profitable side business. This example shows that digital marketing and word-of-mouth marketing aren't about spending money, but about being authentic, offering value, and connecting with the right people. Any entrepreneur can replicate this formula with consistency and creativity. Ultimately, your business takes off when you step out of the shadows. You don't need to be a marketing expert or spend thousands of dollars on campaigns. What you need is to use digital tools intelligently, build genuine relationships, and dare to showcase what you do. The fear of rejection will always be there, but remember that every time you share your project, you're planting a seed that can become a sale. With patience, consistency, and passion, those curious onlookers who are just watching today can become the customers who will grow your side business tomorrow. Chapter 8. Integrating your side business into your life. One of the biggest challenges when starting a side business is integrating it into your life without neglecting what you already have. Most people who begin this type of project do so while still working their main job, which means that time becomes both the most valuable and the scarcest resource. The key isn't having more hours, but learning to organize the ones you already have strategically. This is where many fail, not because the idea is bad or the effort insufficient, but because they can't find a system that allows them to balance their responsibilities with their aspirations. Organizing your time starts with a change in mindset. Many people convince themselves that they don't have room in their schedule for anything else, but the reality is that there are always gaps that are wasted on unproductive activities. That time lost on social media, TV shows, or aimless conversations can become fuel for your side business. It's not about sacrificing rest or your personal life, but about being aware of which activities add value and which ones simply drain energy without contributing anything. A practical exercise is to keep a record of your week. Write down how you spend each hour for 7 consecutive days. Reviewing it, you'll likely discover underutilized moments. Perhaps half an hour in the morning before work, an hour in the evening after dinner, or even some time during the weekend that you could redirect toward your project. When you identify these gaps, you stop seeing time as an obstacle and start seeing it as an opportunity. Integrating your side business into your life also requires setting clear priorities. You can't expect to do everything at once. One of the most effective techniques is the 80-20 rule, also known as the Pareto principle. 20% of your actions produce 80% of your results. If you apply this to your business, you'll notice that not all tasks are equally important. Designing the perfect logo or adjusting your website's colors might keep you busy for hours, but it probably won't bring you immediate clients. On the other hand, talking to potential buyers, testing your product on a small scale, or publishing valuable content on social media can make a real difference from the start. Some successful entrepreneurs structure their day around time blocks. Instead of working haphazardly, they set aside specific times for key tasks. For example, half an hour upon waking to plan the day, an hour in the evening to move the business forward, and part of the weekend for longer tasks like creating content or attending to clients. This discipline transforms what once seemed impossible into a sustained habit. Another key aspect is learning to say no to things that don't contribute to your goals. Often, friends or family will ask for your time for activities that may sound appealing, but which drain your energy. This isn't about becoming antisocial, but about being selective and aware that every yes you say to something irrelevant is a no you say to your business. Balance emerges when you recognize which commitments are truly valuable and which you can let go of without guilt. The daily routine of successful entrepreneurs isn't about working tirelessly, but about making the most of productive hours. Some people find they perform better in the morning, while others are more creative at night. The key is to identify your peak energy time and reserve it for your side project. If you're someone who concentrates better early in the day, you could dedicate the first hour of your day to your business before starting your day job. That consistent hour, repeated for weeks, can have a surprising impact. Balance also means taking care of your health. A side business requires energy, mental clarity, and motivation. If you neglect your rest, nutrition, or physical well-being, you'll soon feel exhausted and lose motivation. Remember that your business shouldn't become a draining burden, but rather a project that inspires you. Getting enough sleep, exercising, and maintaining a healthy diet are invisible investments that multiply your productivity. Many entrepreneurs recommend integrating your side business into your family life rather than viewing it as a separate activity. This means sharing your progress, challenges, and achievements with your loved ones so they understand why you're investing your time in it. When your partner, children, or friends know you're building something important, they're more likely to support you rather than complain about your absence. This support network becomes a pillar that helps you maintain balance. There are practical routines that have helped thousands of people balance work, business, and personal life. One of them is weekly planning every Sunday afternoon. Taking half an hour to organize your schedule for the next 7 days gives you clarity and reduces stress. You can decide which evenings you'll dedicate to your project, which specific tasks you'll complete, and which personal commitments you'll keep. This planning gives you control and prevents your business from feeling like an impromptu burden. Another valuable routine is the daily review at the end of the day. Before going to sleep, dedicate 10 minutes to evaluating what you accomplished, what remains unfinished, and how you can improve tomorrow. This small habit keeps you focused and helps you measure your progress without becoming frustrated. It's not about advancing quickly, but about making steady progress. An illustrative example is Javier, an engineer who decided to start a side business offering energy efficiency consulting. During the day, he worked at a company, but every morning he dedicated an hour before leaving to researching trends and writing articles for LinkedIn. In the evenings, he responded to messages from interested parties and worked on small projects. He devoted his weekends to meetings with potential clients. He didn't quit his job, but integrated his business into well-defined time blocks. After a year, this consistent effort allowed him to generate income equivalent to his salary, with the added benefit of maintaining a healthy work-life balance. The secret lies in consistency, not intensity. One focused hour a day for a year equates to over 350 hours invested in your project, enough to launch and solidify a side business. Most people underestimate the power of daily repetition and overestimate the need for major sacrifices. You don't need to disappear from your social life or quit your job immediately. What you need is the discipline to make steady progress, day after day. Of course, there will be times when balance is threatened. There will be days when your main job demands more energy or when your business takes up more of your time than expected. In those moments, flexibility is essential. Adjust your schedule, ask for help when you need it, and remember that this path isn't about perfection, but about progress. A healthy work-life balance doesn't mean dividing your time equally among all areas, but rather learning to prioritize what matters most at each stage. Sometimes your job will demand more, other times your business will require more focus, and at certain times your family or your health will be paramount. The key is to accept these variations calmly, without guilt or excess. In short, integrating a side business into your life is an art of organization, discipline, and awareness. It's achieved when you identify your free time, define your priorities, create supportive routines, and take care of yourself in the process. The result is a dynamic balance where you advance your project without neglecting your job or personal life. This harmony doesn't happen by chance but by choice. And when you achieve it, your side business ceases to be a burden and becomes an engine that enriches all areas of your life. Chapter 9. Overcoming Obstacles and Failures. Starting a side business isn't a straight path, nor is it free of obstacles. Although the initial enthusiasm is powerful and motivation drives us forward, sooner or later, obstacles appear. Fears, doubts, and minor setbacks are an inevitable part of this journey. The important thing isn't to avoid them, but to learn to face them with resilience and perspective. A side business isn't built solely on strategies and plans. It's also built on the mindset with which you approach each challenge. The most common fears when starting a business usually revolve around personal insecurity and uncertainty about the future. One of the most frequent is the fear of what others will say. Many people have great ideas, but they don't dare share them for fear of being judged. What if they laugh at me? What if they think I'm wasting my time? These unspoken questions are more paralyzing than a lack of money or knowledge. The truth is, there will always be criticism, but none of it pays your bills or defines your destiny. The antidote to this fear is remembering that your project doesn't have to convince everyone. It only needs to connect with those it truly serves. Another common fear is financial failure. What if I lose the little I invest? This concern is legitimate, but this is where the start small approach makes sense. If your initial investment is minimal, even a negative result won't bankrupt you. More than a loss, it will be a valuable lesson that gives you clarity on what to improve. True failure isn't trying and making mistakes, but never trying at all for fear of what might happen. There's also the fear of not being good enough. Many people believe they need certifications, degrees, or years of experience before daring to offer anything. But the truth is, we all start somewhere, and the best way to improve is by practicing. If you wait until you feel completely ready, you'll never take the first step. Confidence is built along the way, not before you begin. So, what do you do when your idea doesn't work out as you expected? The first thing is to accept that not all ideas are viable. Sometimes a product doesn't resonate with the market. Other times the promotional strategy fails to attract customers, or the timing simply isn't right. The important thing is not to see it as a personal defeat, but as a sign to adjust. Every business is an experiment in which you test hypotheses. Are people interested in my proposal? Are they willing to pay for it? Under what conditions? If the answer is no, it doesn't mean you've failed as a person, only that the hypothesis needs to be revised. The smartest way to react when something isn't working is to analyze the data instead of emotions. Ask yourself, did people show interest but not buy? Maybe the price was too high. Did no one show interest? Perhaps it wasn't the right audience. Did they buy once but not return? Then the quality or the experience needs improvement. Every setback contains valuable information that brings you closer to the right formula. An illustrative example is that of Mariana, a young woman who decided to open an online store selling imported clothing. She invested time in creating her website, took photos, and began promoting herself on social media. However, after 3 months, she had barely sold a few items. Instead of giving up, Mariana decided to ask her followers directly what kind of clothing they preferred, what prices they considered affordable, and what styles they were looking for. She discovered that the problem wasn't the clothing itself, but rather that she was offering styles that didn't match her target audience's trends. She adjusted her inventory, focused on basic and affordable pieces, and within a few months her sales began to take off. Her initial idea didn't work, but by listening and adapting, she found a more profitable path. This kind of mindset is what's known as resilience. Resilience isn't the absence of problems, but rather the ability to get back up again and again, learning from each attempt. In the world of side hustles, resilience is more important than talent or capital, because even with money and skills, the road ahead will always present challenges. What separates those who succeed from those who give up is the decision to keep going despite setbacks. Resilience is built through concrete practices. One of them is redefining what failure means. Instead of seeing it as an end, see it as a learning process. Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb, said, "I have not failed, I've just discovered 10,000 ways that won't work." Every attempt that doesn't yield the expected result doesn't take you back to the beginning. It gives you information you didn't have before. Another resilience practice is surrounding yourself with people who understand and support your journey. Entrepreneurship can be lonely if you isolate yourself. Sharing your progress and challenges with other entrepreneurs, even beginners like yourself, helps you stay motivated. Hearing stories from people who have overcome similar difficulties reminds you that you're not alone and that obstacles are universal. Furthermore, cultivating resilience involves taking care of your inner dialogue. If after a setback your mind fills with phrases like, "I'm no good at this," or "I always fail," you're likely to give up. Instead, if you learn to tell yourself, "This was a lesson," or "Now I know how to improve," you'll be training your mind to see difficulties as stepping stones, not walls. Your side business will grow at the same rate as your ability to maintain constructive thoughts, even in the midst of frustration. Obstacles can also come from external factors. A boss who doesn't understand why you're dedicating time to something else, family members who doubt your project, or even unexpected financial difficulties. In these cases, the key is to remember your purpose. When you're clear about why you do what you do, you find the strength to resist external pressure. If your goal is to give your family a better life, save for independence, or create something you're passionate about, that vision becomes the fuel that keeps you going. A common mistake is giving up too soon. Many businesses need time to mature. Sometimes the first sales come in slowly, but with consistency they multiply. The secret is to persevere long enough to give the seeds time to germinate. Impatience is the enemy of success. Remember that every great tree was once a seed that took time to grow underground before becoming visible. An inspiring example is Samuel, who started a YouTube channel talking about personal finance while working at a bank. During the first year, he barely had 100 subscribers and felt like he was talking to a brick wall. Many of his friends told him he was wasting his time. But Samuel persevered, posting videos every week and improving his style. By the second year, his channel began to grow, and by the third, it was generating enough income for him to consider quitting his job. If he had given up in the first few months, he would never have discovered the potential of his project. Overcoming obstacles and failures doesn't mean not feeling fear or frustration. It means acknowledging them but not letting them control you. Every successful entrepreneur has had moments of self-doubt, moments of wanting to give up. What makes the difference is that they decided to take one more step. In the end, your side business will not only be a source of income, but also a life lesson. It will teach you patience, discipline, creativity, and resilience. Every obstacle overcome will make you stronger, and every failure will bring you wisdom. The important thing to remember is that the real enemy is not the mistake or the difficulty, but premature giving up. As long as you keep moving forward, even if it's with small steps, you're never failing. You're building the path to freedom and personal fulfillment. Chapter 10. Scaling your side business. Scaling a side business is one of the most exciting and, at the same time, most challenging steps on the entrepreneurial journey. At the beginning, your project is born like a small, fragile seed, heavily dependent on your personal effort. You nurture it with hours stolen from rest, with enthusiasm, with experimentation. But there comes a time when you notice that seed is starting to grow more than you expected. Clients increase, income is no longer symbolic, and the project demands more attention than you can give it without jeopardizing your job or personal life. It is at this point that the big question arises: is it time to scale? Knowing when to expand is key to avoiding two extremes: staying too small and stagnating, or growing too quickly and uncontrollably. The clearest sign that your side business is ready to scale is consistent results. If your sales or revenue remain stable month after month, it means it's no longer a coincidence or a lucky streak, but rather that your offering has a real market. Another indicator is when you start turning down clients or orders because you can't keep up. That's a sign that demand exceeds supply, and growth becomes almost a necessity. It's also time to consider expanding if the financial benefit of your project starts to become significant compared to your salary. It doesn't necessarily have to exceed it, but it should be a noticeable income that transforms your quality of life. The next step is to ask yourself how to grow without the business consuming you completely. This is where two key words come in: automation and delegation. Automation involves using digital tools and systems to reduce repetitive tasks. For example, if you spend a lot of time answering basic customer inquiries, you can implement a chatbot on your social media. If you send emails one by one, you can use email marketing platforms that schedule them automatically. If you manage your finances on makeshift spreadsheets, you can migrate to accounting software that automatically categorizes income and expenses. Every hour you save on mechanical tasks is an hour you can invest in creativity, strategy, and rest. Delegation, on the other hand, means learning to trust others to do what you can't or shouldn't do. Many side hustlers make the mistake of wanting to control everything, believing that no one will do it as well as they can. But the reality is that growth requires letting go. Delegating doesn't mean washing your hands of things, but rather training others to become extensions of your vision. This could be someone who manages your social media, a virtual assistant who organizes your schedule, an accountant who handles your finances, or even a strategic partner who complements your skills. The key is understanding that your time is your most valuable resource, and that investing in additional help can multiply your results. The challenge, of course, is that when you delegate, you must learn to create processes. It's not enough to simply tell someone what to do. You need to document and standardize how you want things done. This is achieved by creating simple manuals, recording quick tutorials, or explaining your methods step by step. The clearer your processes are, the easier it will be for someone to execute them without your constant supervision. Remember that a truly scalable business is one that can function even when you're not present all the time. At this point, one of the most important decisions arises. Continue as a side business or take the leap and make it your main source of income. The transition shouldn't be taken lightly because it involves risks, but it also opens the door to greater freedom. It's advisable not to quit your job until your side business meets at least two conditions: that it's consistently profitable for several months and that you have a financial cushion that allows you to survive for at least 6 months without additional income. This will give you security and reduce anxiety during the first few months of full-time dedication. The strategic transition also involves adjusting your mindset. When your project goes from being a side hustle to your main source of income, you can no longer treat it like a hobby. You need discipline, organization, and a long-term vision. It's an identity shift, from employee with a side hustle to full-time entrepreneur. This change doesn't mean giving up stability, but rather creating a different kind of stability, based on your ability to innovate, adapt, and serve your market. An inspiring example is Laura, who started selling desserts from home while working as a teacher. Her first customers were friends and neighbors, but word of mouth gradually led to more orders than she could handle. For a whole year, Laura kept her job while organizing her kitchen into a small workshop, buying supplies wholesale and creating a set menu. When her dessert income exceeded her teaching salary and she managed to save the equivalent of 8 months' worth of expenses, she decided to leave teaching and dedicate herself entirely to her baking business. Today she has a physical store and employs 2 people. The key to her transition was planning, not improvisation. Scaling doesn't always mean growing in physical size. Sometimes it means growing in quality, profit margin, or digital reach. You can scale by diversifying your products, opening new sales channels, reaching international markets through e-commerce, or increasing the value of your offering. For example, if you give private lessons, scaling might mean creating an online course that reaches hundreds of people instead of limiting yourself to one at a time. If you sell handmade products, scaling might mean finding a more efficient production system that allows you to sell more without sacrificing quality. Of course, scaling also means facing new challenges. With greater growth comes greater responsibility. Managing employees, coordinating suppliers, responding to more customers, and maintaining quality amidst expansion requires business maturity. This is where many entrepreneurs discover that true growth lies not only in the business itself, but also within themselves. Your ability to lead, communicate, resolve conflicts, and remain calm becomes just as important as your product or service. Another key aspect of transitioning to a core business is nurturing your vision for the future. It's not just about making more money, but about designing a lifestyle. Ask yourself, how do I want my business to serve my life? Do I want the geographical freedom to work from anywhere? Do I want stability for my family? Do I want time to enjoy life, not just work? Scaling without a clear vision can lead you to create an even bigger cage, a business that brings in money but robs you of peace and freedom. That's why every step of growth must be aligned with the purpose that led you to start your business in the first place. Scaling a side business is, in essence, an act of courage and strategy. It requires patience to wait for the right moment, intelligence to use tools that free you up, humility to delegate, and vision to take the leap when conditions allow. Not all projects will become main businesses, and not all entrepreneurs will want to give up the security of a job. But the important thing is that you have the option, that your side business gives you the freedom to choose, not to resign yourself to a situation. Imagine for a moment the day your side hustle is no longer just extra income, but the primary source of your freedom. Think about what it would be like to wake up without the rush of clocking in at an office, to organize your time as you wish, and to work on something you're truly passionate about. That day doesn't arrive suddenly or by chance. It comes as a result of every small step, every adjustment, every conscious decision you've made along the way. And the most beautiful thing is that this day can come to you if you persevere with vision and resilience. Ultimately, scaling your side hustle isn't just about growing numbers. It's about growing in life. It's not just about making money. It's about gaining time, purpose, and freedom. It's the culmination of a journey that began with a small idea and, thanks to your effort, became a real opportunity to transform your destiny. That's the true power of a side hustle, not only to complement your present but to open the doors to your future. Key conclusion. The time to act is never tomorrow, never a year from now, nor when everything seems to be in order, because that perfect day will never come. The only real moment you have in your hands is this one, here and now. Most people spend their lives waiting for favorable conditions to begin. They wait for more money, more time, more experience, fewer responsibilities. But the truth is, all it takes is the decision to take the first step, however small, however imperfect. What seems insignificant today can become the start of a journey that forever changes your destiny. Every project that has transformed lives began with a small spark, an idea jotted down on a piece of paper, a casual conversation, an action taken amidst uncertainty. That spark is also within you, and all it requires is your willingness to fan it until it becomes a flame. Start today, even if it's small. That's the phrase that should be etched in your mind. Perhaps what you do in the next few hours won't produce immediate results. Perhaps no one will notice at first, but what's important isn't the magnitude of the action but consistency. A stone thrown into water creates ripples that expand without stopping, and your decision to act today can be that stone that marks a turning point in your life. It's not about transforming everything in a day. It's about starting with what you have, where you are, and trusting that the path will reveal itself as you move forward. To turn that motivation into concrete action, I want to propose a practical exercise: your 30-day action plan. This plan doesn't require excessive money or extraordinary conditions, just your commitment and your willingness to invest a little of your time each day in building your own future. We'll divide it into 4 weeks, each with a clear focus that will allow you to move forward without feeling overwhelmed. In the first week, the goal is to observe and take notes. Dedicate at least 15 minutes each day to reflecting on what you're passionate about, the skills you've mastered, and the problems you see around you that could be solved with a simple idea. Make unfiltered lists. Write down everything that comes to mind, even what seems irrelevant. The purpose isn't to come up with the perfect idea, but to train your eye to spot opportunities. Also, observe your surroundings. Talk to coworkers, friends, and family. Listen to their complaints, needs, and desires. This information will be invaluable in shaping your project. In the second week, the goal is to select and define. From all the ideas that emerged on your list, choose just one. Not the most ambitious or the most complex, but the simplest and most viable. Write it down in a single sentence that anyone can understand. Then answer 3 basic questions. What am I offering? To whom? How will I deliver it? These questions are the heart of your mini business plan. Don't strive for perfection, just clarity. Once you have it, share it with someone you trust and listen to their reaction. Simply putting your idea into words in front of another human being will bring it to life. In the third week, the goal is to test on a small scale. You don't need to invest large sums or wait for everyone's approval. Launch a minimal version of your idea. If it's a product, create a homemade prototype and show it off. If it's a service, offer it to a friend, neighbor, or colleague for a nominal fee. If it's digital content, publish your first video, article, or post. The goal isn't to make money yet, but to validate whether anyone shows genuine interest. Listen to the feedback, observe the reactions, and take note of what works and what doesn't. Every attempt is a learning experience. In the fourth week, the goal is to refine and consolidate. Take what you learned from the trials and improve your proposal. If someone paid you even a small amount, think about how you can provide more value. If no one reacted, analyze what you can change. Perhaps your communication style, your target audience, or the channel you used. Define a concrete next step that will allow you to keep moving forward in the second month. This is where most people stop because they don't see immediate results, but this is precisely the moment when it's determined who perseveres and who gives up. Your commitment should be to yourself, to finish the 30 days with something stronger than what you started with. By completing this 30-day plan, you will have moved from theory to practice, from intention to action. You will have proven that you don't need perfect conditions to begin, just determination and consistency. What you achieve in a month may be small in terms of results, but it will be enormous in terms of confidence. That is the true objective, to prove to yourself that you are capable of taking action and moving forward. Imagine what your life would be like if you repeated this same plan month after month for a year. 12 cycles of observation, definition, testing, and adjustment. 12 firm steps toward a side business that ceases to be a dream and becomes a tangible reality. Every month won't be perfect. There will be stumbles and moments of doubt, but there will also be discoveries, achievements, and small victories that will propel you forward. What matters is not the speed, but the direction. And every day you take action, you'll be a little closer to the life you envision. Always remember that you're not just building a business, you're building options. Options to choose how to live, how to work, how to enjoy your time and energy. You're creating the possibility of not depending solely on a salary, of not being tied to a single path. You're opening doors to a freer and more fulfilling future. And it all begins with a single action today, right now. So don't put it off any longer. Don't wait until next Monday or next year, or for everyone's approval. Start today even if it's with something small. Make that call you've been putting off. Write the idea down in your notebook, open that website, offer your first service, make your first homemade product. What matters isn't the size of the step, but the decision to take it. Because one step today puts you in a different place than you were yesterday, and many small steps create a whole journey. Make a commitment to yourself. In the next 30 days, you will take action. It doesn't matter if you achieve everything or not. What matters is that you move forward. Action creates clarity, clarity builds confidence, and confidence unlocks the doors to success. Start today, even if it's just a small step, because the perfect moment doesn't exist, but your decision to act can create the life you've always dreamed of. So, if this audiobook inspired you and you're ready to delve deeper into your personal growth and inner transformation, I invite you to discover another eye-opening audiobook that will change the way you see the world, your decisions, and your potential. Click here and I'll see you there.